really, I'm gonna just go in straight to the point. So we was just having a conversation before we hopped on this call, and I just like to continue it that way because that's pretty much how all our conversations are. It's
Hmm.
just jump on something, and the momentum carries us in a completely different direction. So you hit you
Yes,
hit
sir.
me up. You hit me up, and you said that your barber had canceled. You know what I'm saying? And you fresh right now though, so you already think about the next appointment. But
Right.
you said your barber canceled, and of course, everybody around the country probably freaking out now. But I was even thinking about this fact because yesterday, I'm not sure if you saw this, there was this DJ, DJ D Nice. I'm not sure if you saw that, but this
Nah.
guy, you see that? I woke up at about 12. I took my little 9 o'clock nap, woke up
Uh-huh.
at 12, and I went on Facebook, and a bunch of people were posting about this DJ named D Nice. So I clicked on his link, and that dude had did like a 9 hour set, yo, when he was DJing live, just like real feel good music, man, like 80s stuff
Wow.
that I heard. You know what I'm saying? Some real good music, and it got big because he already had a large following, but a bunch of celebrities hopped on too. And he was shouting them out. When I got on, it was about 57,000. I seen somebody post this morning; it got up to about 100,000.
On a
And I was
Facebook
just thinking
Live,
on Instagram Live, which to me
Instagram
is
Live.
probably harder. Yeah, because like I don't check nobody's Instagram Live. To be real with you, because it doesn't pop up on my timeline like a Facebook would. Facebook, you might scroll past somebody live. IG, it'll like give you a little thing at the top, and you have to click on it. So I don't even mess
Hmm.
with it really.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm thinking about what you said with your barber and like how this market right now, man. Like
Okay.
I feel like, yo, everybody's job, there's a way for you to do it digitally. And I think a lot of people who are probably in a rut now, of course, they depended on their job, they're frustrated. Some
Mm.
people out of work right now, but even the
Yeah.
barber, for one, I'm thinking home visits, make sure it ain't a lot of people at the crib, right?
Hmm.
But home visits for one, and then even two, I know some people don't like to give away the tricks of the trade, but shoot, if I was a barber, I'm hopping on. I'm gonna teach you how to cut your hair
Right.
because that's gonna give me visibility. And to be honest with you, I line my hair up sometimes in between when I go get my stuff lined or whatever. I'm not a barber though. I can't do it as good as an expert. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
don't know kind of how you was feeling about that, but do you think that more people are going to do that naturally, or do you think that more of us are in a situation where we're gonna go towards our pessimistic side though, and what we're dealing with right now?
Hmm. I think we're in a situation where some of us gonna get real creative.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on how we look at the situation to define it and label it. And normally your perception is first, then your actions and behaviors proceed from that perception.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I can see the barber. And when you gave me the suggestion, I gave it to him. And I don't know how well he received it. We'll see as time evolves on if he goes ahead and applies what I asked him about or what I suggested to him from your suggestion about going ahead and doing the video. But to think about a barber, male or female, saying to themselves, I don't want people to learn how to cut. That's more so to me a poverty perspective. That's a sign of limitation because they're not going to cut it like you. They're not going to cut it like you. And to think if, let's just say per se, I'm a barber and I start doing videos of how to trim and I send it to my clients. If my clients get sparked and they decide to go in that profession, maybe those will be my students when I open up my barber
Mm,
college, or
mm,
my people that will pay booth rent in my
mm-hmm,
barber
mm-hmm.
shop.
Right, right, right.
They're
Now that's
thinking
real.
outside the
That's real.
box.
We were just so this morning, we everybody around the country and the world had to do the digital church service today. So that became a big thing. And
Yes,
one of
sir.
the things, so our church that we visit out here, they had the pastor. He uploaded a sermon this week, and they also have something for the kids because they have a kids church too. And it was talking about the part where Jesus washed the disciples' feet,
Mm-hmm.
and the exercise actually had me because I can't have my wife do it so right now, but it
Mm-hmm.
had me washing my kids' feet. So of course
Gotcha.
they thought that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I got their feet in a little bucket, I'm washing their feet and just explaining to them like why would Jesus do that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what's the purpose to that? Why is that a powerful thing? Why is that a meaningful thing? And it's the idea of just service and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that part of why I think, we're in this situation right now, it's a combination of things. I'm not saying this is it, but
Mm-hmm.
we are so reliant on ourselves, and we see ourselves as the solution to everything. We see ourselves as the only one that can do anything. We work too hard. We don't focus enough on our spiritual growth, our
Mm-hmm.
emotional growth. We don't connect enough. I'm just now realizing, bro, like I can't remember the last time. It's only been about a week, but just sitting with my kids for a prolonged period of time, and I'm seeing a side of them that my teachers see, man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that hit me in a certain way. Now we give summer breaks and stuff as teachers, but we probably on the run a lot. But I'm in homeschool teacher mode, and I'm seeing a side that only they would get to see for 7 hours, bro. And that hit me. That
Mm.
hit me because once your kids are born, and you 3 months or whatever, then you take them to daycare. You go back
Mm-hmm.
to your routine, bro. We talking most people 9 to 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
A hour commute, 30 minutes commute, getting your kids, get home 6:37. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
eating, kids gonna be in bed in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Most people ain't educated, so they might get 10 days off a year, maybe 20 days. The best years of your child's life are being molded by somebody that ain't even you, that you barely even talk to, man.
Yes, sir.
You barely even talk to, man. That hit me, bro. That's hard right there. So if we can't get in the mindset, to me, of constantly serving, because the selfish mindset will say, "Get out my face, I got stuff to do." Not realizing that what you impart in your kids, what they gonna carry on later. How many memes have you seen, bro? People tired of their kids. Now I said something too. I'm tired, but I'm enjoying it though. But I'm enjoying it though because it's different from me. And I know what I'm doing, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know, well, and I say I know what I'm doing in terms of I know the process that I'm
Yeah.
going through. So can you speak a little bit on that process from your perspective? Like,
I was involved in a conversation with me being an educator. My first line of defense or function is to be a student. I ask questions,
Mhm,
especially when a crisis like this is taking place. I want to know what people are thinking, how they feeling, and how is this affecting their daily living. I don't like to assume how people are feeling or what they thinking and how it's affecting them. I want to know from them why. And I was involved in a conversation with this young man because I'm taking notes as you talk. That's why I'm looking down.
mhm, mhm,
I was involved in a conversation with this young man, and the conversation was centered around this very topic. And his response was, "Man, them jokers need to go back to school because they eating up everything." But that was a reality for that person that he shared with me, and I was able to connect with him based on his reality in itself. Now, as you was talking, some of the notes that I jotted down to myself was the time for us to have new businesses, expansion, virtual
mhm,
services, and products.
mhm,
I don't believe that we should go revert back to the way we used to do things after the epidemic has ceased in that specific capacity. Now, in terms of the homeschool, you know that I'm a strong proponent of
mhm.
homeschooling. You know that I'm structuring my life as to where when my kids manifest, my responsibility is to homeschool them and not only teach them the basics, but teach them stuff that they may not be able to get from somebody else the way that I'm able to deliver it to
Right.
them.
Yeah.
But I think that's my rant,
Yeah. Yeah.
concerning.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, 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 no. That's no. What
I
you
mean,
said too kind of peaked something too, because what I would even say when I begin to even tell people is like, you are the first teacher though. And again, we would have those. My wife and I would have those moments where, of course, you spend 9 months, 9.5 months with somebody else kid teaching all day, and then bam, you at the crib with a 3 and a 1 year old or 5 and a 3 year old, and I was 6 and a 4 year old,
hmm
and you like, oh man, this is different.
yeah,
Oh man, let me put them. Oh man, but again, whose responsibility is that? Like
hmm
you are the first teacher technically. It's just that you have to drop them off because you are providing for them for during the day. That's it. So
yeah,
now we in a situation now, bro, where we technically we got the technology, but we also have the agrarian type mindset. We're going like 120 years ago where your kid's job is not to go to school. The school is at home. They learn how to survive through you. And you are
Yeah.
surviving by doing your work at home, whether it be farming or being a blacksmith or
Hmm.
whatever. And they know that and they see that. So we've been so caught up in, I got to go to school, get my degree, do this, get a family, blah, blah, blah. Then send my kids off to school. And then by the time they're 18, you don't even barely know them kids because
Yeah.
they being taught by a society that ain't even, don't even know what they doing yet. You see how
Because
lost we are here.
Because collectively, as a society, from a parental front, I've always said this to you and just in people in general that we've put too much responsibility on our teachers. We
Mm-hmm.
put entirely
Mm-hmm.
too much responsibility on them. And with the overkill of responsibility, it bursts unrealistic expectations.
Yep.
And when those expectations are unrealistic, I'm expecting this from them, but that's not taking place because that's not how I would do it, with
Right.
my kid that I birthed. But for whatever reason, I've created a pathway in my life where that may not be attainable in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and which allowed me to give responsibility to the teachers when, as you said before, the parent is the first teacher, not only from an academic aspect, but also from a social aspect, modeling the behavior because people
Right.
learn more effectively, in my opinion, from what they see people model. Because
Right.
sometimes when you learn a topic, and you know this from being in education, the number of years that you have, that I can teach you something from a content based abstractly, but you still gotta the student themselves got to be able to see how relevant that is and how to apply it in their life to get an outcome. When a person get an outcome in their life, it gives them the incentive to go forward. It gives them the incentive to
Mm-hmm.
grow. It give them incentive to explore and to become those continuous learners. This time, right now that we find ourselves in, we're being exposed. And
Mm.
it's all dependent on the paradigm of the person, the perspective, because light always exposes darkness. Darkness is representative and symbolic of ignorance. So the light is being shined and exposed,
Mm.
and we have to really self-assess and ask ourselves, man, what have I been doing all this time? Not take it as a time where I'm taking on responsibilities that are not mine because these are my kids. They came from my loins. Maybe I need to reconsider or consider the structure of my life, the routines, and make some adjustments to
Mm-hmm.
accommodate this time. But maybe this is, and I keep saying maybe because I can't speak for everybody, I'm just speaking in general. Maybe this could be the lifestyle that we were supposed to live.
Mm. Mm.
Maybe that
Man, you said it. You said
possibility.
it. Yeah, because yeah, it's exposing a lot. And you know what's interesting? So I was, of course, being the history dude. There was a warning about a potential pandemic, in 2017,
Hmm.
as we transition from Obama to Trump. Um, and I think that we always kind of anticipated something else coming. Being somebody who pays very close attention to what the media puts out. There was a movie I think in 24, no, sorry, 2004. What was it called? It was some type of outbreak movie. I can't think of it. Right. Contagion. Yeah, it was called Contagion.
Okay.
And if you look at the trailer, everything they were doing in that movie is what we're doing now. And I just again going back, right? Maybe this is how we were supposed to be. The internet been around for a while, y'all. It's almost like we've been preparing for this moment unknowingly. We talking since the 90s with dial up and then Jeff Bezos with Amazon, who's completely taken over the whole game, period. Started around the mid 90s. But nobody would think that what he was doing in the seed he planted then would have such a big impact on how the economy shifts now. Because what if he didn't do what he did then? How would we be surviving? There was a flu outbreak 100 some years ago, 1918. They didn't have the access. They had to wait to the next day, bro, to get that newspaper. They didn't know what was really going on. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So maybe this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I will probably piggyback what you said and say that that probably is. And I think that you touch on something powerful because in terms of how we should have been and what we should be doing, I think you already been prepared for something like this, bro. Because I want you to kind of speak on this because you made a leap already. Like this is to me nothing new to you. You made the
Hmm.
decision to jump out on faith. And when I saw you last week, I think it was either the day before everything was about to get shut down or the day of, whatever. But you came in smiling, bro. Everybody in the
Hmm.
school building is freaking out. People don't know what's going on. You said you came in, you was blasting your music, you was in a great mindset. So kind of speak on that because I feel like you, not that you maybe knew it was going to happen, but you were
Uh,
prepared for a situation like that. What does it take, and how did you get mentally ready for something like that?
yeah, proper preparation prevents poor performance, whether you're speaking about in life, academics, and in sports. And the last day of school where we knew it was going to be shut down, I'm listening to Ronald Isley, I'm bumping the music, singing, because what I saw this as a vacation from the traditional norm, which allows us to evolve into a new norm. That norm was always there for me. I'm able to function within the system of what people see as norm. And because, as like I said before, as being a student, I'm always picking brains, I'm always asking questions, I'm always trying to see what people respond to. I'm not trying to put my eggs in one basket. I'm putting my eggs, in different baskets based on my divine design and how I've been created to function. But to answer your question, I was happy because ever since, I can't say ever since I've been an entrepreneur, but in the last probably maybe 5 to 7 years, I got exposed to a young man, and his name is Peter Nugent, and he was in Canada. And he was sent to me. I don't know how him and I connected on social media, but he was sent to me and to expose me to another way of conducting business, because majority of businesses, from my experience, they function in one dimension. They function in terms of service. You have to be physically present to provide this service. But when I got exposed to him and his teachings and all his ideas, it showed me that you must have a product to offset if you're not able to provide that physical service. And those products are not only tangible, but they're intangible in terms of virtual and digital products. Once I got exposed to that, it was no turning back, because I knew that my mindset was, okay, what happens if we're not able to physically come into this place? Because I've experienced at least two people in my life that they weren't able to physically go to the job because of either being sick or getting hurt. And when that took place, the stream dried up, because your stream is based on your divine design and also the service that proceeds from that divine design. But if you're not in a position physically to serve, then there's no seed being sown. And without no seed, there's no fruit. Without no fruit, people can't partake of what you have to offer, what you've been created to give to them, if you have one stream. Hence me being happy, because I know I've been created on how to function in a virtual platform, from an aspect of internet and being able to connect with people over that platform. That's why I was on 10. I was on 10 because I saw this as a new horizon, and I also saw it as a place where we can journey to or experience where we don't have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us may choose to come back because we believe that that's the quote unquote norm. But let's say even if we did go back, that still shouldn't stop people from still exploring and being curious on how to express who they are through service through the virtual platform.
Oh, that's real. That's real. And it reminds me a lot of the conversations that I've had with my students this year about, having to have various streams of income. And they've seen that from me firsthand, just with me putting out the book this year. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
always preaching to them, you, especially right now, they 16, 17, you should not be working your butt off outside of school. You should not be working 3, 4 jobs. You should not be working 6 hour days, 40-hour weeks, 30-hour weeks, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
should be using the internet as a producer. We've been called up so much, man, because that's how we're taught. We're molded to be that, man. And
Yep.
I think that what we're going to find is we were taking each other for granted when we had each other at our will at any given moment,
Mm-hmm.
always on the phone, always on social media. And I'm talking when we're in person with each other. We're
Mm-hmm.
not valuing that face-to-face contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then people always saying, oh, I wish I had more time. Oh, I wish I ain't had to be here. Or can we get a snow day? Or we going to get an e-learning day? Or we going to
Yes.
get some more time off? And bang, the creator said, here, everything you need. Go ahead, do something with it.
I got
And
you.
people freaking out, man. People are, I mean, to me, the anxiety I'm seeing just from posts and social media, I don't think people were ready for this, even though they said they were.
Bruh, because we can say what we ready for and verbally, but when the experience manifests and it comes into play, that's how we know that's how we know that we're ready. We can talk about it, but talk is cheap. You know,
Mm-hmm.
action and sacrifice is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
To really build on what you're saying, every human on the face of the planet values a place, and I underline the word a place of safety,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that physical environment, their routines, their traditions. But what has taken place is a place of safety for us has become the place of safety. When you put the in front of any word, that's a definite article, which it really transitioned in us running into idolatry. We idolize our routine. We idolize the way things go. We idolize certain ideas and different things of that manner. What, from my perspective to you, what has taken place is that the crutch that many people have built their life upon has been taken from underneath them. That crutch has evolved into a foundation that now is withered and is withering away. Now with no foundation, man, my house is falling now. And if the
Mm-hmm.
house falls in terms of people's lives, as I say with my Job Corps students, clap that up, be happy,
Mm-hmm.
because we may need to consider building another foundation and building a whole
Mm-hmm.
nother structure to house where our life should be going.
Yeah, and how are we going to justify going back to the old way whenever this subsides, man? I think that I told my students this, I want to say on that Friday or Monday. I said, to me, from my vantage point and how I've seen things unfold and being a student of history, it's almost like how your body reacts, man, when
Mm-hmm.
you don't get sleep,
Mm-hmm.
when you just keep grinding and grinding or whatever it is you're doing, you're not getting sleep, eventually, bro, your body's going to crash. And there ain't nothing you can do about it because we don't control this. We just try to figure out how to operate the machine that God gave us. So you
Mm-hmm.
might be grinding nonstop. How I say, I'm working all day, right? But as soon as I sit down on my couch, man, it's a wrap. I'm out. And I can't stop that. I feel like we have taken advantage of this earth, man. We done depleted the resources. We've taken advantage of each other, all for the sake of money, man. All for the sake of something we think that we need to be fulfilled. And
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting is if you look at, they had a picture of China's atmosphere before and after this whole thing when people were staying inside and the
Mm-hmm.
pollution was way down. So they might be saving people in the long run. I've seen a YouTuber make a video saying the corona in this respect might save people because people are staying inside, which means we're not emitting, I think it may be called the CO2 emissions, right? With the pollution. Same thing going on in California.
Mm-hmm.
We're figuring out that, I think we probably, me personally, I'm like, we need to have a reset every year. Earth Day should be stay all but inside for a week and figure it out. Stay inside, stay inside. But here's the thing too, man, as an educator, right? They funneling in 30 some kids each period. That ain't how education happens. Ideally, we talking what, 15, 10? What they say now? Don't gather in groups larger than 10 people. So y'all people tripping. You can still go outside. The governor of Illinois said you can't go to the club, you can't go party,
Mm-hmm.
you can't partake in your vices. You can
Gotcha.
still drive, go to the gas station. You can still
Mm-hmm.
get your food and water, man. Go to the grocery store. Cook your food. That's health right there. Cook your food. He said you can still hike. You can still go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like after this call, bro, I'm going outside with my kids. I don't care if it's 35 degrees. That's that fresh air because what I would normally be doing now, it's a Sunday, I'm stressing out because I gotta get my weekly plans in order for my 35 kids they funneling in each class.
Yeah,
So how we gonna justify going back to that system, man?
because we're gonna justify it because the government is our daddy. The government,
That's real.
the government
That's
is our
real.
daddy. The government is our parent. But I would say that there's a government that's above the government that we
Right.
submit to, and it's more a faith-based move. I
Mm-hmm.
was watching the news last night, my fiance and myself, and they was flashing the numbers on how many cases have been identified, in the state of Illinois, and how
Mm-hmm.
many deaths,
Yep.
and the number looked very vast.
Right,
But
right.
what people, I think this is my opinion, what people may not realize is that every number has a story. You just can't
Mm-hmm.
look at a number and make that assumption
That's
in
fire.
your perception about what this number means.
Yep,
And
yep,
the number could mean that what was the age of these individuals? What was the profile of the individuals who died, and condolences
yep,
to all the
yep,
families, but who passed
yep.
because allegedly of this virus or this epidemic. But I was sharing with my fiance too last night as well that in where did the virus originate at allegedly? Where did
China.
In
Yeah.
China. So you think
Mm-hmm.
about China in contrast to the United States of America. And I'm thankful to be teaching world affairs this summer because I was just exposed to global poverty, versus
Mm-hmm.
poverty on a local level, but globally to think about poverty from that aspect. Sometimes countries don't recoup because of a weak infrastructure and a weak
Mm-hmm.
economy. And now, in contrast to America, we have a pretty strong infrastructure and economy, but I say that because when people see all the deaths in this country, I don't know what their infrastructure is. I don't know what their
Yep.
economic prowess is. Sometimes when you have, not sometimes, but when you have a weak infrastructure, you're not afforded the services that a country that has a stronger infrastructure has, like healthcare,
Yep.
sanitation,
Yep.
transportation, railroads, different services aren't different services are not attainable when you have a weak infrastructure. And I'm saying all of that to get a point of that when we see a number, we can't afford to put our own perception on what that number implies because all numbers have a story.
Hey, it's just like what Jay-Z famously said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. But then one of my favorite rappers, Royce 5'9", said, men lie, women lie, and numbers do too. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what you're getting at because like, we don't know the context. And, what we even see with Italy, I've seen that a lot of their casualties have come from older people, and prayers out to our elderly population because they're affected by this the most. But
Mm-hmm.
when we see those numbers again, we don't know the profile. We don't see any pictures of these people. We don't know what happened. And a lot of them already had different things going on. So I think what
Mm-hmm.
you're getting at too, and I had to look this up a little bit, the fact that we are more attracted to bad news. And that's what the media specializes in. It's not the news at 9. It's not the top news. It's the top bad news. And from what I was finding is that we're not attracted to that because that's our reality. We're attracted to that because it ain't.
Mm-hmm.
We're attracted to it because it's groundbreaking. It's like, oh man, I don't see stuff like that on the regular. So I want to see what they're talking about so I can shield myself. And because in my mind, they call it our primal brain, I'm protecting myself, man. It's what do they say? Negative bias. We have a negative bias. I saw something, bro, that said that one negative emotion is 3 times stronger than a positive one. So if you
Wow.
had a scale, that weight of hearing one thing that's bad is gonna weigh down more than just hearing one thing that's good. One
Mm-hmm.
negative thing. So we, in our mind, bro, we think about it, like you said, with infrastructure 100 years ago when they had that flu pandemic, 1918 after World War One, the infrastructure in most cities was horrible, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sewage systems, right? Clean water. A lot of these pandemics even come from not having access to clean drinking water. So when
Man.
we talk about, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about that, man, in terms of our survival instincts now, we're thinking of we've only had an industrialized society for maybe 100 or so years, and we talking about with proper mechanisms in place that could be about maybe 50, 60, 70 years. So for
Mm-hmm.
most of our time as human beings, bro, we've been out there just trying to survive, not knowing what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So when we
Mm-hmm.
hear bad news, it's I got to guard myself because I
Mm-hmm.
got to go out and hunt for my food. So I got to make sure I don't, get hung from that tree. Or I got to make sure I don't get shot by that officer. I got to make sure that animal doesn't get me. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, bro, I got a text right before we got on this call, man. A senator just been diagnosed with, but what does that do for my mind when I hear that? Oh man. And then not just that notification, I get 5 more saying the same thing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
even the senators got it. even the celebrities got it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so
yeah.
the primal brain is gonna say, shoot, I must be next. But nah,
Uh-huh.
nah,
Yeah.
we're gonna be all right, bro. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah, those are thoughts, and one of the thoughts that I shared with my pastor last night on the inbox, which may be a little high for this conversation because when people listen to it, but I'll share it anyway, just as a
Mm-hmm.
roll of the dice real quick. And what I shared with him was that because yesterday my preparation is more meditation, listening to the Creator, just quieting myself and listening, to what's taking place and what strategies or how I should be perceiving an experience or a situation. And one of the thoughts that came to me yesterday was the quarantine. A quarantine is
Mm-hmm.
insulation. The quarantine of heaven protects us from viruses. Viruses meaning infectious agents, thoughts that can kill us spiritually. And to interpret this, the heaven is a whole different dimension of living. That's where I live my life from. But when I see through that lens, it's a quarantine. It's an insulation from infectious thoughts that would
Mm-hmm.
keep me earthbound and keep me in panic mode and keep my soul all abruptly, and I'm panicking, fear, and all those negative emotions and connotations connected with that. But if an infectious thought gets in me, in my psyche, my mind, will, and my emotions, then it takes away how I'm supposed to perceive the situation. Now, I can
Mm-hmm.
perceive a situation in terms of the reality of it, but all the negative biases that's connected to it, as far as the emotions and the thoughts and the pessimism, I don't have to entertain those pieces. I need to be more in a sense of urgency mode, not out of fear, but out of urgency
Yep.
and preparation. I know I sent you a text way before the school closure shut down or took place, and the text was that, in my paraphrase, I have to live my life now as though I'm preparing for the future. Every
Mm-hmm.
decision that I
Mm-hmm.
make
Yep.
now, I have to prepare now. I have to live my life now how I want to see it in my
Mm-hmm.
future. And this
Yep.
is the time to encourage us and people and individuals. This is the time to be wise, but not to be stingy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time to be wise, but not to be stingy. I was in the grocery store, and the Latino lady came in with 6 jugs of water trying to fill them up.
Mm-hmm.
And my fiance and I was in there shopping. She filled up her 2 jugs, and it was one Latino lady with 6 and another Latino lady. She was kind of petite with 2. I could not leave without helping those people,
Mm-hmm.
but I used wisdom. I put on my gloves, and then I helped them, take the
Right.
jugs
Right.
and put them in the
Yeah.
carts. But I'm sowing seed in the midst of what some people perceive it as famine. I see it as an opportunity to flourish and to still be of service and to help people.
Right.
But it's a seed. See, I'm not because what I see externally is speaking to me and telling me differently. But when I'm living from the inside out, I'm gonna help these people. But the wisdom
Right.
kicks in, put on the gloves, Cage, and help those people. You see how heavy those waters are? I don't know how these
Mm-hmm.
ladies got to the grocery store by themselves, but I chose to position myself as a conduit of change and service to help those people. But it's also a seed, the laws and the principles that govern the earth universally. They're,
Yep.
they're not seen by the naked eye. They're seen with an eye that's clothed in righteousness.
Yeah, you're planting a seed that's going to grow into something. I don't think we look at it that way. We always look at things from a physical, point of view. We don't view things in terms of every action, every thought has the potential to manifest something.
All day.
And kind of go into what you even saying, man. I saw a story yesterday. There was an indigenous brother. He had bought up a bunch of stuff, paper towels, I think, and tissue, and he was out on the corner handing them out to people, man.
Mm,
This was something I saw on Twitter. Completely different vantage point. I saw a story, of course, there was a guy who hoarded, I think it was 70 bottles of sanitizer. He was forced to get them things up. You know what I'm
hmm
saying?
hmm
Like, again, all that stuff is going to come back to you. And we, for some reason, have a mindset of lack. We live in one of the wealthiest nations ever. That's
hmm
one thing we're never short on is wealth in this country. We
hmm
got the money. Like JB Prisker, when he went to the podium, said that, like, yo, y'all gonna have what you need. Because I went to the grocery store on a Friday, stuff was low. I went back on a Monday, everything was replenished. Besides the tissue, but we know that's gonna come back too. But
Right.
all of that stuff is gonna come back, man. And I'm even thinking from another point in terms of you being prepared for the future, being prepared for the now. This is the marketplace, and this is where people who make genuine spiritual and emotional connections to actually flourish now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because of everything, if everything that you provide is tangible in the sense of it's just something that you have to touch to grasp and really feel,
Mm-hmm.
you can't survive in this marketplace. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Like the dude who went live with that DJ set for 9 hours straight. People was vibing, man, because he was out there serving, man. He was out there vibing 9 hours, bro, of
Mm-hmm.
music. Just and he had 500,000 followers, so I'm sure he gets paid pretty well to DJ. And he's just vibing out, playing good music, connecting with people, trying to uplift our spirit. He's giving. Now you will imagine. I'm sure he didn't do it for this, but imagine how many people gonna hit him up now because he was serving. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
so people who are making that connection, man. I've been watching Kevin Hart. You know, because you think comedians they got to be on stage. Kevin Hart has been doing something where he's just telling stories now because
Yeah.
we connect with stories. You know, he's
Yes,
been
sir.
telling stories about some of the experiences he's had behind the scenes as a comedian over the years, and it's getting millions and millions of hits because he's connecting with what we want and what we need now. Bro, Anthony Hamilton,
Powerful.
man, Anthony Hamilton, the R&B singer, he's gonna do a live concert today. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like people gonna tune in because people want that vibe. And for somebody to be able to even create that ambiance as if
Mm-hmm.
people are really there, that's powerful, man. We had a situation out. Everybody is here. Everybody is watching. We ain't got nothing else to do. One of my brothers on Facebook was like, "Man, I do not want to see my screen report from Apple this week, man. I don't want to see how many hours I was on there because we all tuned in. Netflix about to cake. You know what I'm saying?
So check it
Netflix
out.
about.
Check it
Go
out.
ahead.
This man, so you were talking, this is what I heard.
Yeah.
You have to virtualize your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Yep.
to virtualize our gifts, not with the primary reason to benefit financially, but primarily because it's in alignment with our divine design
Mm-hmm.
and our service flows from that divine design. Now, when everything blows over, and it will, as you said before, this young man is going to be booked for
Mm-hmm.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be booked to the
Yep.
degree where he may not even be able to service all these people himself. But I wanted to share something with you as I was watching some videos
Mm-hmm.
from Dr. Miles Monroe about how to
Yeah.
benefit through a crisis. And my quote from him is that we aren't taught to follow our passions. We're taught to follow a career. Most of our
Mm-hmm.
career choices are based on monetary interest, not necessarily fulfillment. Dr. Miles Monroe. And when underneath that framework of thought is these thoughts that will proceed from that is the guys that you named, they are functioning from their design, their divine design. Even though the expression may be different, it's still a gift. But the question that people have to ask themselves is, what am I doing in this time? Am I taking this time to discover who I am and discover my gifts? Because once this person discovers who they are, they can reach their full potential. And then
Mm-hmm.
those gifts will flow from that. And as your gift flows, you're limitless. The two
Mm-hmm.
guys that you described, their gifts is flowing virtually, and people are
Mm-hmm.
still connecting to that because that's what these two gentlemen are known for. But when we fall under the guise of we going to school and being trained just merely for a career, guess what? Under the umbrella of a career, you have what's called essential jobs that list came out. But if a person is not winning one of those essential jobs, they at the crib, they at
Mm-hmm.
home, and those essential jobs may not complement the person's divine design or their purpose or their gift, but they still, but the people will still settle for getting paid because of functioning from that place of safety. And all I'm saying is we have to take this time to dig deep, not put other activities, to fill a void because I don't got nothing to do. Now's the time is to really soul search, really spend time with whatever your religious belief may be. I'm naming all the religions is, fillers for me to go through. But whatever your faith base is, it's time to really dig in deep and find out, where am I at? Where am I at? Am I in the right place? Where should I be going? And when I say where, I'm not talking about a physical location. I'm talking about internally. Am I in the right career field? Where's my finances at? Where's my relationship with my kids at? What needs to be improved? Because this stripping is exposing us to really self-assess and to see where we are and where we should be going from this place.
That's deep. That's powerful. And what I'm even getting from that is, especially for my extroverts out there, we have to start going inward, focusing on our intrinsic values. And if our worth is always based on constantly being around people, then what are we really worth? We have to be full first. Even in terms of giving out things and giving out gifts, man. I'm just thinking of a funny metaphor, but like when they tell the myth of Santa Claus, bro, he never runs out of gifts. He never runs out. He doesn't have, according to the story, he doesn't have a lack mindset. It's not, well, I got to make sure I only give this many here, this many here, this many here. It's, I'm giving them out to everybody. And through that story, he becomes one of the most famous, famous, mythical, whatever, urban legends of all time. Because what is it for? It's for forgiving. All the people that we talk about throughout history, man, are forgiven. And then when we study history too, on the same token, most of the people who are framed as the villains throughout history, man, when I'm even talking about going, to the Gilded Age when people were rising in wealth, we frame people like Rockefeller and Carnegie as the villains because, and not just, they gave away some money too, but sometimes people will say that was still for their own benefit, but it's because they hoarded so much. You know what I'm saying? Who's looking good right now? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a billionaire, but what did Mark Cuban say the first day the NBA season was canceled? I'm paying everybody's salary, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. Because if you got that wealth, like it's like I think we have money so misconstrued, bro. Because like it's like he's hoarded time, basically. He's hoarded time, and I'm not saying because we all want to be able to have the time to do what we want to, but he has a spirit that I'm seeing that's positive, that's a spiritual thing, and he's giving out that time to other people so they don't have to stress over that. That's the whole purpose of getting this money. Andrew Yang, a presidential candidate who ran on this platform of giving every citizen like $1,000 a month or whatever.
I remember him.
He decided that he's going to give out, in this foundation he's with, they're giving out $1 million to residents in New York right now, man. Like what he was doing by running for president was not for himself, apparently, because he dropped out, bro. He wasn't getting the votes, but he's still out there serving and doing something for people. And who knows what that could lead to a cabinet position. That could lead to him running again. You know what I'm saying? And what's funny about it, bro, that he's Asian, so his background is the one that's being villainized the most by people now. Because you got people who, of course, are going to start to stigmatize Asians and people who are Chinese or whatever, man. But this is the time, man. Like, how when the bears are hibernating over the winter, this is our time. This is our moment, bro. This is where we all the working out we did. Eventually, you got to rest that body so you can get those muscles, get those ripples. Feed yourself that protein, right? Feed yourself that protein. That's what we're doing now. We fed ourselves the protein, hopefully. And now that's when it begins to rebuild and get stronger, man. Like, how can you leave a situation like this and not appreciate the people in your life? You know what I'm saying? How can you leave a situation like this and not cherish every single moment? Like when you wake up now, you should be thanking God or whoever as soon as you get out of bed, man. Like, I made it another day, bro. The first couple of days I woke up, I was like, it's real, huh? Like, we really doing this. Like, it's Wednesday. We doing it again. But it was a positive thing. I'm like, wow, we really doing this. And it's Sunday now, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm really doing this. Like, I'm figuring out my routine. I'm waking up. I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading my devotional book. I'm reading my words of wisdom. I'm meditating, bro. I meditate for 20 minutes, bro. I never did that. 20 minutes. 20 minutes straight. And I'm sitting there with a notebook, jotting down things. And I'm saying, this is what I wanted. I wanted this time to get things done. And I'm saying to the people that's listening, man, I know we're being inundated with all this negative media, but you're going to make it. You're going to be all right. Like, it's so, I got a list of the good news, man. They saying most people who deal with this only experience mild symptoms and fully recover. some of y'all probably watching this and are listening to this, and you probably already had it. Don't even realize it. It's probably gone already. Like, it didn't start when the media told us about it. That's a whole other thing right there. This
Mm-hmm.
didn't start because they started reporting it. That's when your mindset became negative regarding it. And that's when you started to manifest some negative emotions about it. But it was already here probably, man. People been flying back and forth. How long now? From
Uh-huh.
Asia and back here and Italy back here? Some of y'all had a real bad cold. They didn't even know.
How
and
has
you
how has
and you
your adjustment
survived.
how has your adjustments been as an educator and as a parent?
So in terms of education, be honest with you, it's seamless because now again, the preparation. My second or third year in my district, they started teaching us about how to do blended learning, and I
Uh-huh.
signed up for it to learn. I didn't know when I was going to teach it, but I signed up and I went through it. I remember joking with one of my administrators saying, y'all gonna have lay off a bunch of teachers one day and just have us do blended learning." I'm not saying that didn't happen now, but we all now doing e-learning, remote learning. I had
Uh-huh.
2 years of blended, and what I found was we give too much work as teachers. Is what I
Uh-huh.
found.
Okay.
And what I mean is we put too much food on the table. We don't let kids
Mm.
digest, right? We don't let kids get time to
Uh-oh.
um, just figure out like, okay, this food right here, this word of wisdom, this piece of knowledge is going to help me in this way. It's always okay. Next day this, next day that, next day this, do that homework. No, it's what's the purpose of this? So when they said this, and I already knew what I was going to do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving my kids extra time to do this work because I want them to, for one, enjoy time with your family. I don't want you stressing in front of the computer all day. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm spacing it out. I'm giving you an assignment per 2 days. Now, it's not going to be something simple. It's going to make you think a little bit, but it's not going to be a long, drawn out, writing a 10-page paper. So
Mm-hmm.
that was easy for me because I've already started to do that a couple of years back. So what I had to then fill in was, oh, now what I was doing personally with my book and my speaking, that's at the forefront now because I'm not in the building physically for 7 hours. So it's
Wow.
family time, that homeschool family time, time with my wife. Then I'm looking at my stuff. Then I'm checking my emails.
Right.
That,
Right.
that's what it is. So for me, my kids already know how I get down. I'm online all the time. So, and the stuff that we do as educators, man, it's not that I'm doing something separate. What I do with this, it,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? The lines are blurred, bro. It's the same thing. And I figured that out. But when you started sending me that Miles Monroe stuff, it hit me different because I had to realize that like I'm not necessarily a teacher in terms of the profession. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
teacher because I'm speaking to the youth in a way that will inspire them or teaching them these lessons from my mindset about things that have worked for me that have helped me become successful. I'm not simply teaching you about the Cold War or the Great Depression or the Civil Rights era or the Civil War. I'm teaching you this happened here and this is why it still exists and this is what we got to do moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to digest that. It ain't just
Right. Right. Right.
memorize that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So man, I'm doing everything in the morning I said I wanted to do. I used to wake up. Sometimes I would rush and meditate for 2 minutes. I would sometimes do a little reading every morning, bro. If everybody's asleep, I go right upstairs to this office, man, and I'm reading, meditate, do some yoga. Man, I got my music blasting, some
Mm-hmm.
positive music, man, some
Mm-hmm.
gospel or some positive hip hop, some Eric Thomas blasting through, and I'm just putting myself in a positive mindset, man, to get ready. So like you said, you either preparing for it or you're not. And I don't want people to get it misconstrued and think that preparing for it means you're thinking the worst is going to happen, like by hoarding things. Preparing for it is somebody does something for you and you think, well, how can I do that for myself? Or how can I use that for my benefit in terms of what I'm trying to do or what I'm going to do professionally or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think the people that's dealing with this the hardest are the ones who have not realized the deeper meaning behind whatever their career choice is. Man, it all has something attached to it that has a deeper spiritual meaning, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like the part that you shared about feeding the kids and chunking and breaking into different
Hmm.
steps, sequential steps, because
Yeah.
as you were sharing, the image came to my mind is that when we eat, we don't just throw stuff at our kids like you hungry, here you go. You hungry, here you go.
Right.
You hungry, here you go.
Right.
You want to be able to sit down at the table, eat the meal, and enjoy it. And that's
Hmm.
that's in a parallel in terms of education. When information is given, people have to be able to really comprehend it, understand it, digest it, and then see some type of application from it to
Yep.
increase their retention. I had another question
Yeah.
for you though as well.
Yep.
The other question I had for you was, how has your daughters made the adjustments with them being the age they are from traditional school and transitioning to homeschool?
You know what's funny? So 6 and a 4-year-old. So one is in first grade, the other is in pre-K. So far, they've liked it, man. Now they didn't fully understand what was going on because you try to explain it as best you can as a parent, but they don't fully grasp it. But they just keep hearing about Corona this, Corona that. So of course they miss their friends, but being educators, we've adapted ourselves to their level. So we've kept that structure in place. It's, you wake up, we chill them for a little bit, you're gonna get your breakfast, then y'all clean up, wash the dishes, then we're gonna get into our lesson. So they got that structure and they're looking forward to, recess every day. I'm the recess director. So, I'm
Okay.
taking them outside. Man, the first day, bro, we went out to a local pond, not too far, maybe a 10-minute walk. And they spent about an hour just throwing rocks into the pond, man, swinging
Mm-hmm.
on the tree, and the only thing that they missing is just having maybe another kid because they always around each other.
Mm-hmm.
But when I asked my daughter, like, just doing a weekly recap, what was the best thing about your day, best part of your day? And they say homeschool. I love homeschool. And these kids already love school because it's at this age, it's still fun for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they've adjusted to it. And I think, again, it's because being an educator, I'm in a place where I have to have structure daily.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was doing some of those lives, attempting to impart that knowledge into some of our parents who aren't used to this. But our kids are adjusted, man, and it's because of this. We were prepared, but we're keeping them active. So to people who are listening, I would say you have to begin to do all the things, begin to provide the solution for all the things you complained about. You know
Mm-hmm.
me, we have combos, bro. I'm like, school needs to do this. School needs to be that way. Okay, now it's me and 2 kids. We going outside. You can learn outside too. Okay, after you do your lesson from school, your e-learning, bam, we're gonna get up and move. Let's do some jumping jacks. Keep that brain moving, do some
Mm-hmm.
push-ups real quick. Get active, right? Every 10, 15 minutes, we're gonna take a quick break. We all complain about the current system that's in place because we know something ain't right, but
Mm-hmm.
we all have the capacity to change that because now that you are out of your job, if that happens to be you, again, you had a particular skill set that allows you to get that job. And don't let nobody tell you that your job was not valuable. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay you at all. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a job. And we see how valuable grocery store workers are now. They're probably getting a little bit over minimum wage, but where would we be without them?
Right.
You just have to figure out how can you touch people through this device and still provide value for them. So for me, man, they're enjoying it. Right after we get off of this call, we're gonna go outside. We're gonna do. We've been doing experiments, scavenger hunts, just being creative. Remember when you were a kid? What are the things you wanted to do at school? And by the time they go back, hopefully they miss homeschool.
Yeah, we had the ability now to create our own system. That's what I
Yep.
heard as you was talking. The
Mm-hmm.
system
Mm-hmm.
that we complain about, we have the ability to create our own system now and bring our own educational experience to ourselves and our family directly, which
Yep.
to me is powerful because I understand that education is not limited to a building.
Mm-hmm.
Education is everywhere. Education is formal, informal, and non-formal. But once we get so accustomed and rigid to this is the way,
Right.
that was another thought that I hadn't shared with you that I jotted down in my notes about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, possibly. And the thought was this: that public school is not the way; it's a way.
Mm. Mm.
And what I'm not
Yeah.
doing is I'm not knocking public school because we have the opportunity to talk with, fellowship, learn from tremendous educators. I'm blessed to be in the district that I'm in. I'm blessed and I have a strong sense of gratitude for all the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, the systems, the culture. It's been a blessing for me and it's helped me grow and develop as a person and as a
Mm-hmm.
professional. But again, it's education is not just limited to the building; it's unlimited. We this conversation is a form of education. When you take your kids out and
Mm-hmm.
you do your recess or you do your recreational activity, that is a form of education. Everything that we do is some has some remnant of education in it. But now we
Mm-hmm.
have the ability, to create that experience and create our own system and not be, so rigid in how we employ and apply those strategies and methods.
Yeah, I mean, because we are the first teachers, man, for these kids. When you have a child or when you are with somebody out, godparent or whatever, you're the first teacher for that child. So this is your moment. To me, it's like take control of your house, take control of your education, and you'll also find some of the things that they may have been learning that you don't fully agree with. So it's
Hmm.
just that we've become so reliant on allowing, like you said, public school or even a private school system to take care of our kids, and then having technology function as the babysitter for us, and we don't feel like getting things done. So now it's about that balance and what can you provide? Because again, the thing that's keeping me in place right now is having that structure. And I'm someone who has learned that without structure, I tend to be all over the place to the point where I
Hmm.
don't get anything done. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm mastering that right now. So it's like
Hmm.
I got to do this, got to do that, I got to move on to this. Self-reflect. We almost a week into it now. We about a week into it. If it was rough for some of y'all, take that. That's a blessing too. Take that as a moment to realize what works for you. And a lot of times that will consist of putting down this device for a little bit. And it's nothing more refreshing than that, to be real with you. Now it's good to check on the world and see what's going on. But that's why I have my foundation set with I'm reading something spiritual, reading something positive, listening to something positive. So by the time I go on there, I don't have any space for negativity. Like I'm filling up my water bottle, it's 95% full of positivity. So I barely got space for that negativity the world gonna put in on me. So what's working for you? What's
Hmm.
not working for you? You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? That's
yeah,
the season. That's what this.
and that would be. I'm gonna give you my little keys. That's helped me. Throughout, I guess, quote unquote tragedy. Really, honestly, I haven't been tripping. I haven't been having a I've been having a real good time just connecting with my
Yeah.
God kids and family and having conversations that we don't normally have. But I'm gonna share my two, I think my three strategies that people can employ where they can, reposition themselves, spiritually, mentally, and physically and socially, all areas to truly advance. And then you can leave us with, what your
Yeah.
keys
No
are.
doubt.
But my keys were, now mind you, I got this in time of meditation. This wasn't any thoughts that I was really
Yeah. Yeah.
pondering on or I
Mm-hmm.
tried to manufacture. They just came organically. My first one was do not replace your downtime. Replace your downtime with faith. Whatever your
Mm-hmm.
faith is, whatever your belief system is. Me being a man of faith, I see God as, a person that I rely on. I
Mm-hmm.
invest quality time. Quality time means no distractions, no noises, just me and him listening. And like I said before, whatever that person's choice and belief system is, you have to find what works for you. But that quiet time, that meditation time is key. Is is very similar to being a baby being incubated, and then when you birth, you have a whole new perception. You refresh, you re-energize, you see more clearly when you employ that as a best practice. The other two was do not do the same things you are accustomed to doing. This is a whole different time.
Mm-hmm.
If the
Mm-hmm.
environment has shifted for us to do the same thing, when I say same thing, I mean employing the same routines, being comfortable with the same activities. Mm-mm. It's a different time now. It's a different environment. I'm not saying that a person can't still enjoy the things, the activities, the practices that they enjoyed before, but you've been mandated and it's a requirement to switch it up. If you desire a different result, if a person is solely relying on the government to take care of them, then they may not employ these practices or implement these
Mm-hmm.
different strategies. But if you want to take the limitation off of your life, then my advice is, to take those practices and really implement them, make them a part of your toolkit. But I think lastly, I would say that whatever a person, and I'm speaking individually, but I'm also speaking in general for people that may be listening. is that anything that's a part of my toolkit now may not be a part of my toolkit later. And when I refer to toolkit, I'm talking about the methods, strategies, the practices that I'm implementing, that I'm employing, that I'm making part of my life at this time. Now, my life is evolving. I'm evolving as a person. I'm progressing as a person. Some of the activities and some of the methods and strategies may not be a part of the toolkit in the future. But I know one aspect that always will be is getting that quiet time and really coming out refreshed. But there are other different methods that if we have another conversation and I'll share with you that I may implement, but I'm not putting concrete. I'm not, everything has a disclaimer right now. Everything has a disclaimer. I'm not putting any method, strategy, idea, practice in my life, and I'm not building a shrine to it.
Yep. That's real. That's good stuff.
What were some of your practices that you could leave us with that can help us through this time?
So just on this conversation, just thinking about my week, I would say first thing is having a perspective. And it was, it's a story I tell sometimes with loving the Simpsons growing up. And, Bart Simpson always had that slingshot. He would, he would pull it back. And the further back he pulled it, the further it would go forward. So I don't think that we have a vantage point enough times to see what we've been through or what we've overcome. And, me being a history person, to me, nothing can compare to what our ancestors had to overcome for me to even be here, for us to be here. They've overcome some of the worst situations, worst predicaments. I mean, we talking diseases that they didn't even have name for they were subjected to, but somebody persisted, somebody was able to make it through. Even with the flu pandemic 100 some years ago, somebody made it through for us to be here today. So that means that we have within us a survivor gene. So perspective, y'all, we've been through a lot. These pandemics that have been around for millennia, and millions of people have been lost. But somebody in your genetic pool, your ancestry persisted. So have some perspective, read something, because what we deal with now pales in comparison to what they dealt with, and what our future, our progeny would deal with would be a lot easier than what we deal with right now. So for me, it's like I got that perspective, and I'm brainwashing myself with that perspective and that positivity. Sometimes brainwashing gets a negative connotation sometimes, but nah, because like I said before, we have a proclivity to be attracted to negative news, which means that we're brainwashed to go to that. So we have to brainwash ourselves with positive stuff. We gonna jump to the negative automatically. So I need to brainwash myself with some positive stuff, like the fact that the rapper Lecrae, and there was another dude he teamed up with in Atlanta. They've been setting up like these stations where homeless people can go and clean up during this tragedy. Brainwash yourself with that positivity. NBA athletes giving their money up, like Zion Williamson. You know what I'm saying? Or
there's a difference. I want to drop this bomb as my water. This is the bomb falling. I'm glad you said brainwashing, because there's a difference between brainwashing and negative programming. If you wash your clothes, you put your clothes in a washer to clean them. But when you have negative programming, what it does is that it doesn't allow you to see. It puts a veil in front of you. You see through a veil of limitation. In contrast to seeing who you truly are. But I had to drop that. Had to drop that bomb.
Water bomb
back. That's the bomb. Wow.
No, that's real though, man. Like restructuring how we view things. So it's like, that one thing is that perspective. So brainwash and have that perspective. And two, I would say realize that you are the solution for my people who out there who don't have a reliable source of income. All the skills that you have gained leading up to this point that made you employable also make you an entrepreneur right now. Not saying that has to be your full-time thing in the future, but it's a way for you to figure out some things. Google and YouTube are an excellent resource. So like, figure it out. Figure out what you can do to provide hope for people. And if it's not for income right now, if you begin to do it for free, it leads to that. Same thing with the DJ guy. You are the solution, because I think it's a great thing that the government on both sides, they coming together and they saying we need to do something.
Right.
But how long is that going to take? People got to put food on their table. They having discussions now about signing this bill to send us money, but when is it going to be distributed? So if you got to wait on them, and again, these are people, very, very, very flawed people. You might be waiting a long time. So that's number two. You are the solution. The third thing I would say is to do it now. I think whatever it is that you want to get done, this is your time to just do it. If you got that book, you got that podcast, if you got that invention idea, just do it now. Like you said, oh, I'll do it one day. This whole situation is the one day. This whole week is the 1 week, the 1 month, whatever. Just do it now. And here's what I'm gonna close with, man, because I think, we have to also humble ourselves and realize that we get epiphanies a lot of times, not just from our elders, but also from the youth. And I saw this from a student of mine that I used to actually help coach with chess, right? And he said something powerful that I never even thought about, man. But he said, what did he say? And this is a senior in high school. So he says, this proves that not everything in life is guaranteed. To all the high school juniors and below, don't ever say, I'll just do it next year.
Wow.
Because there might not be a next year. Make sure you have no regrets. Imagine how a senior in high school feels who said, I'll do that work later. I always get my grades about the end of the semester. Or that high school, that college senior who was like, man, I think I'm gonna do that in April. Or, or I can't wait till I get a chance to do this. Or they've been pushing it back for 4 years, bro. We don't know. We don't know. So do it now. So 1, perspective. 2, you are the solution. And 3, whatever it is you want to do, just do it now. Get it done.
We got to live our lives as though we don't know.
Ooh, no guarantee, bro.
You have a whole different sense of urgency when that thought is internalized.
Yeah. Hey, bro, on that note, I think we should just shut it down. We got to let the people marinate on that for a second. So, share this with somebody. I already got some ideas for the title in my head. This to me, this sounds like the coronavirus mental survival kit. I don't know.
Okay.
But share this wide, spread it. Let's leave it at that, bro. Drop the mic, drop the water bottle.
Bomb has been dropped. Salute.
Right.
Salute.